Yo. Nah. You are not ready for this one. Ashley Jenae's fiancé, the same Joe McCann sitting in a Tanzanian jail right now, was tangled up in something way deeper than a vacation gone wrong. We're talking a whole crypto web with one of the biggest names in hip-hop, and Ashley Jenae herself was all the way in it. The receipts? They are everywhere. The bodies? They are piling up. And Iggy Azalea? Bro, she really thought deleting her connection to this man was gonna save her face. Before we start, this is Melanin Scope Media. Hit like, subscribe, don't miss what's coming. Ashley Robinson, known to the internet as Ashley Jenae, died on April 9, 2026 while vacationing in Zanzibar, Tanzania with her fiancé, Joe McCann, the founder of crypto hedge fund Asymmetric Financial. Tanzanian police initially claimed she took her own life, but McCann was detained. His passport was seized, and prosecutors in Zanzibar are now reportedly building a case alleging he planned and carried out a murder. McCann really thought a quick PR statement 4 weeks later was gonna shut this down. Now let's pull up on the receipts that show why this story is way bigger than one tragic trip. Alright, let's go to the tape. The first major receipt dropped when somebody in a comment section on Instagram pointed out that Iggy Azalea, real name Amethyst Amelia Kelly, was a client of Joe McCann. That comment hit different because it tied Iggy directly to the man whose fiancé just died under shady circumstances in Africa. And Iggy? She didn't ignore it. She hopped into the comments to correct the record. In her own words, posted publicly online in April 2026, Iggy wrote, "That's incorrect. I have never been a client of Joe's. He has never managed any of my investments. I worked with him briefly as he advised on the board for a separate company unrelated to Asymmetric. I also sat the board on. He was discovered to have questionable business practices and everyone I know stopped doing business with him in 2024. When I read that, I literally had to put my phone down. Bro said what?" She added, "People had questions about how he ran his company. I'm here just like you after hearing this news today. The whole story is wild. May she rest in peace." Nah, you can't say that and expect us to take you seriously. That's the dumbest distance flex I've ever seen in real time. Now go back to 2024. On the Bits Plus Bips podcast hosted by Joe McCann himself on Apple Podcasts, the man literally said, "On tape, I recently had dinner with her, talking about Iggy Azalea, and spent multiple episodes hyping up her mother memecoin in the Solana ecosystem." When I heard this clip, I was like, yo, this ain't advised on a board briefly. This is dinner dates and podcast features. Then we got Iggy's own social media bag from late 2024 promoting Mothercoin. I want to see my biggest mother haters on the dance floor having the time of their life at our next party. These are the goals I have. I don't care about saying I told you that's worthless. I want to say welcome instead. That holds value. Cool words. The problem? Guess who shared that exact post? Ashley Jenae. The same Ashley Jenae now buried. Bro, when I saw that share, I knew this rabbit hole was deep. And it gets worse. Ashley wasn't just sharing for Iggy. She was promoting Joe McCann's other crypto plays too, HYP among them, posting links to his Asymmetric brand and side hustles to her own audience. In an interview clip from May 2024 published by Interview magazine, Iggy doubled down on Mother. It's a runaway success. Yeah, tell that to the fans currently filing class action paperwork. Then there's the lawsuit itself. Filed in New York federal court, the class action alleges Iggy misled buyers of her mother memecoin with promises of real-world utility that never fully materialized. The filing specifically points to her promises of a casino, phone deals through Unreal Mobile, and a $300 million market cap target. Brew. When I read those allegations, I had to do a double take. Is she serious? You promised a casino? Now that we got the quotes, let's connect the dots. That dinner? It happened during Mother's biggest pump in 2024, right when retail fans were piling into the coin at peak prices. So Joe wasn't advising briefly. He was running point on the strategy from the inside while the bag was hottest. Iggy's distant statement? Dropped within hours of news breaking that Joe was detained in Zanzibar. That's not coincidence. That's damage control. Iggy really thought we wouldn't pull up the timeline. Nah, brew. Asymmetric's rise lines up too clean with Iggy's mother pump. Joe's fund was riding high through 2024. By July 2025, CoinDesk reported Joe shut down Asymmetric's Liquid Alpha Fund after a 78% loss and Solana Treasury backlash. That same Solana ecosystem he was pushing on his podcast with Iggy. That post from Ashley sharing Iggy's mother party went up months before Ashley publicly debuted her relationship with Joe. So the romantic optics were lagging behind the business optics by a full cycle. So Joe really had her promoting his crypto orbit before y'all even knew they were a couple. That's terrible game from someone who calls himself a creative technologist. Past beef context that nobody's mentioning. Iggy already has a track record of jumping ship the second something gets messy. We saw it with the Playboy Carti situation. We saw it with prior label drama. Any smart advisor would have told her to stay silent on Joe. But Iggy isn't smart. She typed paragraphs into a comment section under a death post. Joe Budden mentioned at Ashley's funeral he knew her personally. That tells me Ashley's social map ran deep into hip-hop's elite circles. Exactly the kind of high-net-worth pipeline Joe McCann needed for Asymmetric to keep raising. So Joe Budden's name comes up not because he was scheming, but because Ashley was a bridge between rap money and crypto money. That's the part the mainstream coverage won't frame correctly. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Now check this out. Nobody's talking about the wording in Iggy's distant statement. Zoom in on one specific phrase, questionable business practices. That's lawyer-coded language. Regular people say shady or scammy. Lawyers and PR teams say questionable business practices because it's the legal safe harbor phrase that protects you from defamation while still throwing the man under the bus. Iggy didn't write that herself. Somebody drafted that for her. And Iggy Azalea really thought we wouldn't notice the corporate fingerprints? That's embarrassing. Zoom in on another piece. Everyone I know stopped doing business with him in 2024. That ONE line is a confession. Because if everyone stopped, that means there was something to stop. You don't pluralize like that unless you're trying to spread blame across a group, so no single person, including yourself, has to carry the weight. That's the kind of line you write when your own lawyer is reading over your shoulder. Then there's the memecoin's mechanic itself. The lawsuit calls it a utility token, but here's the forensic detail. 95 to 96% of utility coin supply in influencer-led launches is typically held by the artist and a tight inner circle. So when Iggy said that holds value, the value she meant was for her bag. Not yours. Not Ashley's audience. His. And Joe McCann, being a hedge fund operator, would have understood that distribution structure better than anyone in the room. If he had even a sliver of that early bag, he was eating while retail was bleeding. Now look at Ashley's role through a forensic lens. She wasn't just a girlfriend posting heart eyes. She was tagging Asymmetric, sharing utility coin promos, and bridging Joe into rap circles where he otherwise had zero credibility. That's not love. That's labor. And if you read her old post where she used to call out black men for embarrassment behavior, the irony hits hard, because the man she ended up tied to allegedly built his cultural cred on the back of a black-adjacent hip-hop ecosystem he was bleeding dry. The Tanzania detail nobody's decoding. 11 hours. That's how long it took Joe to call Ashley's parents after the incident, according to the family's own statements to BBC. 11 hours. With not a lot of detail. Bro. That's not grief response time. That's I'm calling my lawyer first response time. Joe really thought nobody would calculate that gap? That's a problem with high IQ finance dudes. They think they can outsmart common sense. Now let's see how the media covered this. Fortune framed Joe McCann as a high-flying crypto trader who boosted his cultural cred by hanging with Iggy. That framing is generous. It makes him sound like a fan, not a financial architect. Remember the dinner clip from earlier? That's not what fan behavior looks like. Complex framed the mother lawsuit as a celebrity cash grab story focused on Iggy alone. They barely connected the Joe McCann thread. That tells me mainstream hip-hop media is intentionally siloing these stories so the bigger pattern doesn't surface. Remember those promo posts Ashley shared? Complex didn't touch them. TMZ played it safe with the fiancé break silence framing, pure PR optics piece. They didn't ask the financial questions. Why? Because TMZ deals in personalities, not portfolios. People magazine leaned into the mysterious death angle for clicks, but stayed light on Asymmetric. All hip-hop went harder on the lawsuit financials but didn't tie Ashley into the promo machine. So what we have is every outlet covering ONE piece of the puzzle. Nobody's putting them on the same table. Until now. Counter-narrative time. Iggy's defenders are saying she's a victim too, that she had no idea Joe was shady, that she got out in 2024 like she said. But those are the same people who thought Mother was gonna hit $300 million. The receipts say Iggy was on his podcast, having dinners, and sharing the same promotional ecosystem with Ashley well into the Mother pump cycle. If you still think Iggy is just an innocent bystander after all this evidence, you're just biased. The media trying to spin this for Iggy, but the receipts don't lie. The mainstream wants you to believe this is 3 separate stories: a tragic death in Tanzania, a failed memecoin lawsuit, and an influencer's collapsed crypto fund. 3 coincidences. 3 bad lucks. 3 unrelated headlines. Here's what they won't tell you. This is ONE ecosystem. And it operates exactly like the new crack era, just legalized. Or in some cases, illegalized. I'm not buying the innocent narrative on any of them, and something is off here. Let me break down the angle. This is industry politics dressed up as celebrity drama. The crypto meets hip-hop pipeline of 2023 to 2024 wasn't organic. It was manufactured. Hedge fund operators like Joe McCann needed cultural credibility to raise institutional money, because Wall Street boomers don't give you $1 billion unless you can prove the kids are listening. So they courted influencers and rappers as front-facing pump engines. Iggy got the spotlight. Ashley got the rap circle bridge. Joe got the bag. And Asymmetric Financial got to sell the story that crypto was the new culture. That dinner Iggy referenced? Here's the real reason it happened. It wasn't friendship. It was due diligence in reverse. He needed her face to validate his fund. She needed his finance brain to validate her token. They were using each other, and the fans were the exit liquidity. Iggy is a puppet, and the industry was pulling strings. The fact that she's playing victim now is the savage part, because her own posts are still live. That distant statement we broke down? It's actually a confession dressed as denial. When Iggy said everyone I know stopped doing business with him in 2024, she's admitting an entire network was operating, and that network packed up the moment Asymmetric started leaking value. So when fans were buying Mother at the top in mid-2024, the inner circle was already eyeing the exit. That's not investing. That's choreography. Iggy is rewriting history because her real story isn't impressive. She's just another celebrity who attached her face to a Solana token at peak hype and bounced when the smoke cleared. Now here's where it gets dark. The 11-hour call delay? That fits the same pattern. People who treat human relationships as portfolio assets respond to crisis the same way they respond to a margin call, calmly, slowly, and with damage control first. That's not me convicting anyone. That's me reading the playbook. And Joe McCann's entire career has been about the playbook. The real victims here aren't the celebrities. The real victims are the regular people. Like that woman who lost 300 grand, her entire life savings, on a celebrity coin scheme. Lost her home. Now sharing a single room with a roommate. Her words, "I feel like a fool. I can't believe I just handed over all that money. I didn't know anything about Coinbase or any of this. Well, I learned the hard way." That's the human cost. That's what nobody's centering. And let me say this real talk. Ashley Jenae used to be famous for going in on black men, calling them embarrassments, lecturing about standards. Yet the man she handpicked, the man she chose, the man whose business she promoted to her own audience, allegedly cost everyday people their pensions and homes. The irony writes itself. The forbidden take? Iggy isn't a victim. She's not a hero either. She's a participant who got out clean and is now performing surprise on Instagram comment sections. Joe isn't just a high-flying trader. He's the architect of a system that needed Ashley to function. And Ashley, rest in peace, wasn't just a girlfriend. She was the cultural passport, the bridge, the marketing department. Whether she knew it or not, people who run scams hang out together. Period. That's the truth they won't tell you. And this is where everything flips. So what happens next? When the Tanzanian prosecutors formally file charges against Joe McCann, we're gonna see the floodgates open on his American business. This SEC is gonna come knocking on Asymmetric's books, and every LP who put money into his fund is gonna start lawyering up. When that subpoena drops, Joe is gonna look desperate trying to plead this is unrelated to my business. Nobody's buying that. The fund is finished, and any of his associates who took early bag positions in Mother are gonna find their names on a discovery list. Mark my words, within months, you're gonna hear names drop that nobody saw coming. If by some miracle Joe gets released without charges, watch what happens to his social capital. He's never getting another dollar from a serious LP. The hip-hop world that he spent 2 years cultivating is gonna ghost him so fast it'll make your head spin. Every artist who took a meeting, every podcast that booked him, every advisor relationship, all gone. And Iggy Azalea is gonna double down on the distance routine, scrubbing every co-appearance, every podcast clip, every dinner reference. But the internet doesn't forget, and you'll already know I'm gonna be one of the people screenshotting everything. Joe will be socially dead in hip-hop circles by Q3. Case is gonna become the watershed moment that ends the influencer-led memecoin era for hip-hop. 5 years from now, when business schools teach courses on celebrity crypto fraud, this trio, Joe, Iggy, and the tragic story tied to it, is gonna be the case study. This SEC is gonna use the mother class action as precedent. New legislation around celebrity token endorsements is coming. And every rapper who was about to drop their own coin, they are scrubbing those plans right now. The cultural shift is gonna be brutal. Hip-hop is gonna look back at 2024 the way we look at the Ja Rule 5 Fest era, with embarrassment. Iggy's relevance? Watch it crater. She's gonna pivot to wellness content, then single mom content, then disappear. Her music career is already on life support, and now her crypto reputation is in the morgue. Her supporters are gonna be reaching to defend the indefensible. 5 years from now, people will look back at this as Iggy's biggest L. The moment her entire personal brand became an insurable. The bigger picture? Crypto hedge fund operators are gonna lose their cultural cosign permanently. The pipeline from rap to Solana, from influencer to memecoin, from celebrity dinners to retail rug pulls, that bridge is burning. Nobody's gonna trust the next Joe McCann type because they all watched this one collapse. And that's good for the culture. The era of selling tokens to fans as utility is over. Whatever happens, indictment, dismissal, settlement, or silence, one thing's clear, Joe McCann already lost. Iggy already lost. The whole ecosystem already lost. The only question now is who's brave enough to keep digging. We are. If you made it this far, you already know this is Melanin Scope Media, where we don't follow narratives, we break them. Hit like, subscribe, and stay locked in. Because what's coming next? Trust me, they don't want you to hear it.